Okay, so this is my third, fourth technically if you count different segments, but this is my third time trying to record this. I really hope we don't have any more technical difficulties, but whatever. Anyway, what is up, internet? My name is Khalil, and today we are going to be coming back to Avatar, and by Avatar, I of course mean the greatest TV show ever made. And by coming back, I mean talking about it for the first time. So, one of the things that I like to do to just, have fun and think about is I like to take a movie that I disliked or hated and try to rework it in a way that makes me hate it less. I don't actually hate very many things. A movie needs to be really, really bad for it to earn a seal of hatred from me. But considering people are talking about Avatar right now once again, I decided that I would take time to finally break down how I might have made a live action version of this incredible television show. I wouldn't. But assuming that I was bound and gagged by M. Night Shyamalan and held at gunpoint by Viacom, I have here jotted down a few notes on how I might do it. For safety. Anyway, here's the ground rules. Our job is to translate this 52 episode series to 3 movies. Now the first thing we do right now is we throw that straight into the trash. This is a whole TV show that we're adapting. You can't adapt, let's see, 19 hours? Is that it? I think 19 hours of content into 3 movies. Even if we make these movies the longest possible movies that anybody could see themselves sitting down for in a theater, when that becomes a thing again, that's still less than half of the time content of the original. A lot of crucial story info is going to be lost, so in order to mitigate that, we're making this into a 9-film franchise. We're going full MCU, baby. Next, this. Getting rid of it. It's not happening. None of the races in the Avatar universe are one-to-one representations of any one real-life race, which is a triumph of that series' world building. But also, I think it's pretty safe to say that no one in this universe is white. It's not hard. Anyway, on the topic of the cast, we also need to account for the reality that whoever our main stars are going to be will age as this movie series progresses. That's just we can't really avoid that. So for this reason, rather than taking place over the course of a year, like in the original series, it'll just take place for as many years as the movies will be released in real life. You know what I'm trying to say? Just so that we don't need to worry about that. Sure, there's still going to be some stuff with the solstice, but that only needs to happen once. Anyway, I'm not going to get into fan casting. I think that's a little pointless to the purpose of this video, so let's get straight into tone and aesthetics. The first thing we need to understand about Avatar, The Last Airbender, is that it is a martial arts television show. First and foremost, the animators and the writers did their research to make its superpowered kung fu as analogous to real-world fighting styles as possible. With that in mind, this is also an animated show. That means that it's much more exaggerated and over the top than its live-action siblings. That means that we need to make this tone of this live-action movie similar to that of the exaggerated and over-the-top animation, if you want this to work and be, a fun movie. So with that in mind, I think that the movies that are similar in aesthetic and style would have to be House of Flying Daggers and Hero. Maybe just a hint of Kill Bill, minus the gore. This isn't going to be a violent movie, but this is going to be a superpowered kung fu martial arts film. Hero especially espouses the kind of crazy, wacky, over-the-top battle anime like show turn live action that I am looking for in this movie. Let's look back at tone specifically. Let's compare the opening scenes of Avatar: The Last Airbender and LAB, or Lab for short.
I did everything Dad said to do. I watched what side of the fin tracks are more indented, that shows you which direction they're going. I saw how long the drag skids are, that shows you how fast they're going.
Watch and learn, Katara. This is how you catch a fish.
Sokka, look!
Shh, Katara, you're gonna scare it away. I can already smell it cooking.
But Sokka, I caught one! Hey!
Ah!
The eternal failure of most live-action adaptations of video games, anime, cartoons, whatever, is that it thinks that live-action equals extremely serious and never smiles ever. Aang was probably the only well-cast role in Lab, but he never smiled. What's the first thing Aang does when he comes out of the ice?
Penguin!
Penguin sledding. He goes penguin sledding. This is charming, but this.
Is he breathing? Did you see that light shoot to the sky?
What's your name? How did you get here?
Isn't. It's so unfathomable to me how they could have missed the mark that hard. Like, Shyamalan watched the show. Did he not? What was he making this movie based on what his daughters told him to do? But I'm not going to get into that. I'm sure that he loves the show as much as anybody. But anyway, part of why this first movie was such a soul-sucking experience is because they made it too serious. It's based off of a cartoon, bro. Lean into the wackiness. Don't try to sanitize it. Anyway, let's get down to brass tacks. The first movie will be adapting these arcs: The Boy in the Iceberg, The Avatar Returns, The Southern Air Temple, The Warriors of Kyoshi, and then we're going to be jumping all the way ahead to The Blue Spirit. Now, I can hear complaints of those who already have the episode list out in front of you for some reason. What about the Omashu episode? Or was it Winter Solstice? To which I say, they will be dealt with in time. But we need the Blue Spirit here to be the ending because it's the only episode that I can imagine having as a climax of this first film. I'll get into that eventually, seriously. But it would go a little bit like this. The movie will begin not with Katara, but with Zuko. We open on a scene of Zuko on his ship, training in the South Pole, as it lists without any direction. Iroh would also be present, and there would be a back and forth between the two that doubles shamelessly as exposition about the nature of the world. He might mention things like there are 4 nations, that there's been a war, that the air nomads were wiped out, and that the Avatar has been missing for a century. Zuko would probably say something along the lines of, I don't know, there would be no better place for a powerful bender to conceal himself than the South Pole, where there are no benders left. Then we cut to Katara and Sokka, finally, our heroes. This altercation plays out quite similarly to how it does in the original, with Sokka being a misogynist and Katara angrily calling him out on it. Don't really need too much change from here. We might change up some of the conventions that are used because it's live action and it's different, but it'll be the same spiritually, emotionally. Anyway, Katara doing this inadvertently results in her busting open the iceberg, and out pops our Aang, the one that we know and love, the rambunctious little scamp. Katara and Sokka have plenty of questions, of course, that are interrupted by his wish to go penguin sledding. And we might make that into a whole sequence, just to be cool, but I don't know if the CGI will be really good for it. Well, we'll see. We cut back to Zuko and his crew, who see the spire of light that signifies the Avatar's awakening and make their way towards the Southern Water Tribe. Then we cut back to Sokka and Katara, and Aang has answered most of their questions that they had about him off-screen, to save time. He explains that he's an airbender. They may suspect that he's the Avatar, they may even question him about it, but Aang changes the subject. You know, it's just like the original. I'm going to be saying that a lot, which could be kind of a message for why you shouldn't have to adapt this. But at the same time, I really do think that this thing could have had some potential, so I'm gonna go all the way with this. Anyway, the group also becomes acquainted with Appa fairly quickly, and for the most part, they're just kind of hanging out. Katara and Sokka are still strangers to this child, so they don't really have much of an emotional connection. They're still very much confused about this whole thing. But their meet and greet is interrupted by black snow, signifying the arrival of the Fire Nation. Katara and Sokka insist upon Aang that they need to return, and Aang, confused, quickly follows them, and they return to see Zuko and his troops entering this tribe and about to start wrecking stuff. Sokka immediately tries to fight him, and this is going to be the first battle, quote unquote, of this entire franchise, to be honest. It's going to be a one-sided battle, but still a battle, where we try to showcase the martial arts prowess of our combatants. It's going to be, think the fight between Cap and Batroc in the beginning of Captain America 2, except Sokka is Batroc. He's just going to keep getting knocked down again and again, and Zuko isn't even going to be using his bending at this point, but he doesn't even need it because Sokka is just so below his level at this point in the show, and it's going to be kind of pitiful, but he just keeps getting back up, which is part of what makes it inspiring. And he gets a hit on Zuko, and Zuko, wanting to end this now, prepares to execute Sokka, but Aang steps in and turns himself in, finally saying that he is the Avatar, which is a surprise, kind of, to those who didn't even suspect it. And Zuko is still surprised that he's a child, but considering he's an airbender, that's all the proof that he needed. So Aang is in confinement, and Zuko brags about his victory and says stuff like how maybe his father will finally accept him from his banishment now that he's captured the Avatar, which is something that piques Aang's interest. Meanwhile, Katara and Sokka both agree on rescuing Aang, and they both take Appa together after having seen Aang fly it maybe, I don't know, we'll introduce it somehow. They both take Appa together to find a ship where Aang is indeed trapped. Unlike in the original, Aang is not going to escape on his own. Rather, Sokka cements himself as the idea guy and comes up with a plan to head them off at the narrow path in a crevice between two icebergs, and use Appa's weight and airbending, as well as Katara's waterbending, to hopefully trigger an avalanche that can block the Fire Nation ship and possibly lead to Aang's escape. They do this as the ship is passing, causing the avalanche, which allows Aang to partially break free, but an aftershock causes a second avalanche, resulting in him falling overboard. To save his life from the frigid waters, he triggers the Avatar state, shooting him up in the air, only for him to pass out in midair and fall crashing to the ground, before he is ultimately caught by Katara, Sokka, and Appa. They reconcile and bond, and in exchange for saving his life, Aang agrees to take Katara to the North Pole, but only after Katara agrees to go with them to the Southern Air Temple first. Sokka agrees to go along for the ride to both look after his sister and to knock some firebender heads. If I'm lucky, this sequence will take maybe 45 minutes max. We need more time for the rest of the movie, and I really want this to be kinda quick, but this is probably gonna take closer to an hour. But anyway, the next sequence is the Southern Air Temple arc, and once again it plays out mostly like it does in the original, where Aang sees the remains of his people having been totally annihilated by the Fire Nation and triggers the Avatar state, but Katara snaps him out of it. In the aftermath of that, Aang stumbles upon the Hall of Avatars, but unlike in the original, he actually interacts with Avatar Roku and enters the spirit world from here, since again we're trying to save time. This is going to be important, since again we're trying... Okay, cut that out. The gang meets Momo here as well, who will hopefully sell a lot of toys, and the gang travels on their way. After this, it plays out not unlike The Empire Strikes Back, or for a more apt reference, not unlike most of Season 3 of Legend of Korra. That is, our heroes go to several locales, but they are always pursued by Zuko and his company. It could be in kind of a montage format. They can never stay in any one place too long, but finally they seek shelter at Kyoshi Island, and are offered a brief respite by the Kyoshi warriors, who at this point are in their Kyoshi armor, but Sokka probably thinks that they're probably just Kyoshi fangirls or something, and they're just trying to mimic it and they're not real warriors. However, Zuko and his group soon arrive, and a fierce battle ensues. Still humiliated from his defeat at the South Pole, he begins to burn down the village, but is combated by Suki and the Kyoshi warriors. Sokka and Katara battle, and they are separated from Aang, who is also battling. Maybe he's battling Zuko, whereas Sokka and Katara are battling the other Fire Nation thugs. Eventually, Sokka receives a fierce wound, maybe from a poisoned blade, or maybe just a bad burn. But he's nearly defeated, and is rescued last minute by Suki, who was able to hold off the onslaught for just enough time to allow Sokka and Aang and the gang to escape. However, this is no ordinary wound. The group quickly finds that whatever happened to Sokka, he is almost certainly not going to be able to make it. And so, the group needs to find shelter, but they are stopped by a severe storm, and they are forced to take up residence in a cave. Realizing that Sokka may die without medical treatment, Aang goes out to search for medicine while Katara stays behind and looks after Sokka. This is where Katara discovers her healing powers, hopefully. As Aang goes out, this is where it begins. The beginning of one of my favorite episodes of Avatar in the entire universe, the Blue Spirit episode. Aang is captured by the Yuyan archers and is incapacitated. He wakes up in Admiral Zhao's control. This is the first time that we, the audience, are introduced to Zhao, but I would hope that he's mentioned at some point previously in the movie. Perhaps Zuko and Iroh are bad-mouthing him during part of the montage. Perhaps it could show information about the Avatar's return gradually reaching the Fire Nation and their navy, and it finally reaching the ears of Zhao in some sort of menacing establishing shot. You know the ones. Anyway, Zhao is established as a menacing presence. Maybe he could be overdubbed by Ron Perlman, we'll see. He doesn't look like him, but he could sound like him, I don't know. But he definitely has the same sadistic lines about keeping the Avatar alive within an inch of his life. And that was what will make him a little different, really, from Zuko, since we know that Zuko's reasons for capturing the Avatar are more personal. Anyway, from here, the climax of the movie begins. The Blue Spirit infiltration. It plays out just about the same as it does in the original, maybe longer. We don't see who the Blue Spirit is as he infiltrates the Fire Nation base wherein Aang is being kept. But if you know, you know. He rescues Aang, and the escape looks not unlike the fight from episode 2 of Daredevil, if you're familiar, or maybe the scenes that inspired that fight itself. The standoff at the end between the Yuyan archers and Zuko and Aang is going to be the final climactic action scene of the movie, wherein Zuko has Aang as a hostage and he threatens to actually kill Aang unless they're allowed to escape. And this is how he saves Aang's life, for selfish reasons of course. But it is also an indicator of Zuko's resolve. Anyway, it's going to have that kind of hostage trade-off western style shootout kind of deal, but it ultimately ends with Zuko getting shot and Aang spiriting him away into the night. There's a time skip of maybe an hour that leads to Aang's monologue from that scene, wherein he offers Zuko his friendship and Zuko rejects it. Finally, Aang returns to the cave, dejected that he came back empty-handed, only to discover that Sokka's injuries had been reduced to far more minor ones as a result of Katara's healing. With a quick bandage, Sokka might be able to pull through. The pair all hug and they prepare to set out for the rest of the journey. The last scene might be one between Zuko and Iroh, with Zuko returning from his excursion and Iroh questioning his whereabouts. Zuko would ask maybe an introspective question, and then Iroh would respond with some stock Iroh philosophy. I don't know, I haven't worked out all the kinks yet. Maybe there could be a quick reference to Ozai before the movie ends, maybe his silhouette. I don't know, but that's kind of stock ending scenes, right? And that's about it, honestly, for Book 1, Movie 1. Obviously, this leaves a fair bit of important information out, and it skips ahead quite far. But I do think that the Blue Spirit is the most important episode we have that can end the first movie on. It is one of the few conflicts that was not resolved by just bending harder at the enemies, and it's also a crucial bit of characterization Zuko needed, since for the rest of the movie he's just an angry man with a ponytail chasing the Avatar. So what about the other crucial bits of story that are present in these initial episodes of this series? Well, that'll have to wait until the next video. If you made it this far, gotta say, thanks for watching. It means a lot to me. I really hope you enjoyed. If you thought this was cool, feel free to drop a like, maybe leave a comment if you think that this is a terrible way to make a movie and you have a better idea. I'm not like an official Hollywood writer, but I am a fan of the Last Airbender series, and I think that this could probably be a way to make it a little less awful. I'm not saying that it's a good idea to make it into a live action at all, but I am saying it could have been salvageable. Anyway, we're also still testing out the whole waters with the whole like and subscribe shtick too, but if you enjoyed this, you'll probably enjoy our other content. We got some stuff in the pipeline, so check it out. Anyway, love y'all. Peace.